Hello, my name is Bobby Benzer, and I am representing the Children's and Teen Services Department here at Baker and Taylor today. You fondly know us as CATS. And welcome to our latest series of Title Talks. This time we're featuring highlights publishing to the children's and teen space from January through June 2022. We've invited our friends from various publishers to present their own lists. Each of them has chosen a category to focus on: board books and picture books, easy readers, beginner chapter and middle grade, and young adult. But they've also shared highlights with us beyond that, and we're creating a comprehensive selection list for each category, which will live on Title Source 360 in the Children's and Teen Selection List area and under the Title Talks header. There are many, many wonderful titles publishing this season that span multiple trends and covered within the titles here. Books about community, social emotional skills, funny story time reads, awesome graphic novels, books that emphasize diversity and inclusion, and much, much more. I hope you have fun and enjoy watching and learn a lot from it. Any questions or comments, you know where to reach us. Just a couple housekeeping items before we get started. CAT's housekeeping items that I thought may be relevant to all of you watching. One, realizing it's the end of 2021, it's cold outside, but I'm already thinking summer, and I hope all of you are dreaming of warm and fun and reading under a shady tree as well. You might even be starting to plan your summer 2022 programs. If you are, please reach out to us. We have a lot of resources, a lot of activity kits, downloadables, et cetera, that might help you out. We also have a formalized program that offers libraries discounted paperbacks and board books to use as giveaways and prizes. And for the second year in a row now, we are also offering a series of live virtual author events for libraries and patrons to enjoy. They're absolutely free and open to you and your community. Last year we had a great series of authors. We had Victoria Jameson and John Gallagher. We had Nicola and David Yoon, and we're expecting a really great lineup that we're finalizing right now, and we'll have more information about in the new year. And then secondly, I'm really excited to announce, if you are a fan of our pre-bind program and have been ordering our pre-binds for a long time, you might be really excited to learn that we are going back to our original name, and we are rebranding under our Paw Prints brand, and that is coming back to the fold, to the marketplace in January 2022. So just a little bit of exciting news to close out the end of 2021. As always, we thank you for your partnership, your business, your kindness and friendship, and we also appreciate everything that you do for your community and your patrons. And with that, I really hope you enjoy this series of Title Talks. Any questions at all, reach out, cats@baker-taylor.com. Enjoy and happy reading.
Hello, and welcome to the Peachtree Teen launch. We're so thrilled to have this opportunity to show you our exciting new imprint and the 3 titles with which we're launching it. As a reader, I was blown away by Ashley, our editor's range. I'm just so excited to see these go out into the world and reach readers. With no further ado, here's Ashley Hearn to talk with you about our Summer 22 titles.
Books are an important lens through which teens can explore and come to understand their places within an ever-changing world. At Peachtree Teen, we recognize this and strive to be a home for empowering, compassionate storytelling and voices that focus on authentic aspects of the teen experience. Peachtree Publishing has developed a first-rate but small collection of young adult fiction over the years. And by establishing this new imprint, we're looking to put a stake in the ground and announce that we're making a bigger commitment to this dynamic category. Our list will cover 3 seasons, with 3 to 4 titles per season, for a total of 9 to 12 per year. We're looking to keep it open in terms of genre, style, and themes, while searching for stories that reflect our core company values of rooted in relationships grown with care and united by the common goal of inspiring conversation. We sincerely hope our readers will feel empathized with and moved to engage in critical discussions with their peers. For a brief introduction, I'm Ashley Hearn, and I came to Peachtree to help launch the teen imprint after 3 years of building up the YA list at Page Street Publishing in Massachusetts. As an editor, I tend to lean towards stories that combine character-driven narratives with strong commercial hooks. I love finding stories across genres and styles, which is something I'm sure you'll notice in our first 3 titles, partly because variety makes my job interesting, and more importantly, because it's always been a goal of mine for many different readers to be able to come to our shelves and find a story that speaks to them. So without further ado, aligned with this mission is Peachtree Teen's first novel, The Ghost of Rose Hill, a modern folktale told in verse as dazzling as Prague's spires and as powerful as the monsters who lurk beneath them. The Ghost of Rose Hill is the debut of critically acclaimed middle-grade author R.M. Romero, which follows Latina violinist Ilana as she falls in love with a ghost while restoring an abandoned Jewish cemetery in Prague. R.M. Romero, like her protagonist, is a Cuban-American Jew. She spends her summers restoring Jewish cemeteries in Poland, which is where she got the inspiration to write Ilana's story. The Ghost of Rose Hill is a tender romance and a powerful coming-of-age story wrapped up inside of a love letter to Latin American and Jewish diasporas. It's also a rare magical realism novel in verse that merges folklore and paranormal elements with themes like diaspora, immigration, and finding one's voice to expertly bridge the divide between commercial and literary novels. At only 32,000 words, it's truly a story you can devour in a single setting, as hungrily as a vodnik feasting on souls. And the strong romantic and speculative tropes make it a fantastic introduction to verse novels for readers who are more used to traditional prose. Kip Wilson, critically acclaimed author of White Rose, called The Ghost of Rose Hill a modern Märchen steeped in a century of history. Both the beautiful and the monstrous come to life in gorgeous verse prose and a story that will haunt me for years to come. I'm so proud that The Ghost of Rose Hill is setting the tone for the Peachtree Teen imprint. And here are our marketing plans for the book. Next up is Andrew Joseph White's debut novel, Hell Followed With Us, a YA post-apocalyptic horror about a trans boy who escapes from the cult that unleashed Armageddon and teams up with an LGBTQ youth center fighting for survival. If I could pick one word to describe this book, it would be unapologetic. It's unapologetically queer, bloody, horrific, and blasphemous. It's also a tender, thought-provoking, and powerfully affirming story of trans identity, found family, and finding your place in a world that's fighting your existence. Andrew Joseph White is an autistic trans man, a 23-year-old graduate student at George Mason University, and an emerging voice in YA and LGBT literary circles. I'm thrilled to say that the American Booksellers Association has already named Hell Followed With Us a 2022 Indies Introduced pick, and we've secured blurbs from authors Ray Stove, Aidan Polidoros, and H.E. Edgemon, the latter of whom said, "This book made me feel as understood and validated as I was unsettled and pissed off." With vivid prose and a mirror held up to the ugliest parts of ourselves, Andrew Joseph White is poised to become a defining voice of our generation. This is a furious book about a ragtag group of queer teens surviving an apocalypse and truly has all the tools to shoot Andrew Joseph White to stardom. And here's what marketing plans we have in store. And finally, Boys I Know is a debut novel that follows high school senior June Chu as she navigates sex, love, and Planned Parenthood in her small Midwestern town while clashing with her Taiwanese mother's expectations. Boys has all the calm of a rom-com, but the rom part is straight dumpster fire.gif, which is something that really helps Boys stand out. There are so many amazing rom-coms hitting the shelves, but Boys makes its name for its complex and occasionally gutting realism. Each boy that comes into June's life is garbage in some way, and watching June navigate these relationships while figuring out what she wants from sex, love, and life is as maddening as it is cathartic. I can't count the number of times I said to myself, I wish I had this when I was a teen, and that's always a sign of a book that I need to acquire. Anna is a biracial Taiwanese American woman who drew from her own experiences of growing up in Minnesota to craft this much-needed look into teen sexuality and June's struggles over where to place herself on the continuum between Asian and American. Anna is active on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok, where she's just as funny as June comes across on the page. Author Sonia Hartle has already provided a blurb for the book, calling it a touching exploration of the way teens navigate different relationships in their lives and what it really means to not settle. Boys I Know is a masterful blend of heart and humor, and Anna's natural wit creates such an authentic voice. I can't wait for readers to meet June. And finally, here are our marketing plans. And with the time I have left, I'd love to draw a little bit of attention to the 3 outstanding titles on our fall 2022 list. First up, Aces Wild, A Heist, by debut author and youth librarian Amanda DeWitt, follows a modern asexual Kaz Brecker who leads his friends on a Las Vegas casino heist. The Art of Insanity, author Christine Webb's YA debut, which is an authentic chronicling of the trials faced by a high school senior recently diagnosed with bipolar disorder. And finally, The Vermilion Emporium, the fantasy debut of YA author Jamie Pacton, pitched as if the Radium Girls took place in the world of Howl's Moving Castle, where 2 misfits discover deadly secrets inside of a magical curiosity shop. Thank you all so much for having me, and I really appreciate the chance to talk with you all and share what I'm really excited about on our upcoming and inaugural lists at Peachtree Teen.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to present some of our Spring 22 young adult highlights. Romania, 1989. Communist regimes are crumbling across Europe. 17-year-old Christian Florescu dreams of becoming a poet and philosopher, but Romanians aren't free to dream. They are bound by rules and by force. Amidst the grip of the maniacal dictatorship of Nicolae Ceausescu and a country governed by lies, deceit, isolation, and fear, Christian is blackmailed by the secret police to become an informer. He's left with only 2 choices: betray everyone and everything he loves, or use his position to creatively undermine the most notoriously evil regime in Eastern Europe. This is the first book that Ruta Sepetys has written about history that has taken place during many of our lifetimes, and a history that many of us are unaware of, as I was before reading this book. In I Must Betray You, Ruta's research of communism and of Romania throughout the second half of the last century is remarkable. This is a book that I believe we should all get behind and bring to as many readers as we possibly can. It is more than deserving. Best-selling author Sabaa Tahir is headed in an entirely new direction, contemporary YA. Her foray into fiction is no less stunning than her foray into fantasy was with her best-selling Ember in the Ashes series. With exquisitely gorgeous writing, intricately developed characters, and her deep ties to her own Pakistani heritage, All My Rage is prepared to take the contemporary fiction scene by storm. She dives deep into a variety of struggles that teens experience daily, from racism and bullying to abuse to financial worries, and she does it all with amazing empathy and skill. This is about American kids that happen to be immigrant and first-generation Anne Brown. While All My Rage is at times tragic and heartbreaking, it also offers a glimpse of hope and the message that there's always something worth fighting for. The Bone Spindle tells the story of Fee, a bookish treasure hunter with a knack for ruins and riddles, who definitely doesn't believe in true love; Shane, a tough-as-dirt girl warrior from the north who likes cracking skulls, pretty girls, and doing things her own way; and Briar Rose, a prince under a sleeping curse who's been waiting 100 years for the kiss that will wake him, and who might just win Fee's heart. Set in a lush and remarkable world inspired by beloved fairy tales, The Bone Spindle is a fast-paced fantasy full of adventure, intrigue, romance, razor-sharp dialogue, and wit. The Akata books have earned multiple star reviews and enjoy over 30,000 glowing reviews on Goodreads. Interest in Afrofuturism is at an all-time high, and Akata Woman will be embraced by new fans as well as loyal fans alike. Nnedi Okorafor has won the Hugo, Nebula, World Fantasy Locust, and Lodestar Awards for her writing and continues to amass ringing endorsements from celebrities including Neil Gaiman, Ursula Le Guin, and John Green, among many others. In 1860, long after the United States outlawed the importation of enslaved laborers, 110 men, women, and children from Benin and Nigeria were captured and brought to Mobile, Alabama, aboard a ship called the Clotilda. At the end of the Civil War, the survivors created a community for themselves they called African Town, which still exists to this day. The celebrated writing duo of Irene Latham and Charles Waters tells the story from the perspective of 16 different voices that not only includes the enslaved Africans and their captors, but the ship that brought them and their captives in their first young adult novel. Two black queer best friends face their last day together with an epic journey through Baltimore in Kings of Bemore in a magnetic YA debut. Harrison and Linus have one final day together and they make every minute count. These best friends go on an epic day trip that will expand readers' hearts and leave them bathed in the warmth of love and summer light. Eric Thomas' adult essay collection, Here for It, is a national bestseller, and he was partially inspired to write this YA novel when thinking about how Ferris Bueller's Day Off plot would and wouldn't work for a teen who grew up like him. When Hunter, the only gay boy in his band, becomes a band star, everyone expects him to play the perfect queer role model for teens. But Hunter isn't really sure what being the perfect queer kid means. And if the record label finds out he's falling for the star in his warm-up band, it could spell big trouble in this commercial yet thoughtful story that explores big themes and big questions of identity, harkening back to Adib Khorram's award-winning novel Darius the Great is Not Okay. A YA powerhouse and a #1 New York Times bestselling author, Melissa De La Cruz is a prolific and popular superstar who is also a tireless advocate for her books. Set in the court of Versailles, Cinder and Glass, her new fairy tale romance is perfect for fans of Bridgerton and The Crown. Filled with magic, action, and heart-stopping romance, this is a must-read for those who enjoy sumptuous and spellbinding stories like Caraval and the Throne of Glass series. Sonny G's brother left him with one thing when he died, his notebook, which Sonny is determined to fill up with a series of rash decisions. Decision #1 was a big one. He stopped wearing his turban, cut off his hair, and shaved his beard. He doesn't look like a Sikh anymore. He doesn't look like himself anymore. Sonny debuts his new look at prom while he's stuck going alone. Enter Mindy Vong, a girl with a penchant for making rash decisions of her own, starting with stealing Sonny's notebook. When Sonny chases after her, prom turns into an all-night adventure, a night full of rash, wonderful, romantic, stupid, life-changing decisions. This love story is in one perfect silly night, feels super commercial, and with a very diverse cast, exactly the kind of carefree, adventurous storytelling that will appeal to both teens and adults. All her life, Yanni has dreamed of elsewhere, just barely scraping by with a job at a tannery. She's resigned to a dreary life in a port town caring for her younger sister. That is until the Hotel Magnifique comes to town. The hotel is legendary, not only for its whimsical enchantments, but also for its ability to travel, appearing in a different destination every morning. Yet beneath the marvelous glamour, the hotel is hiding dangerous secrets. Hotel Magnifique is tightly plotted, well-paced, and accessible. Emily Taylor has created a magnificent world that feels completely unique and special in this remarkable debut novel. And that's it. Thank you so much.
Hello, my name is Michael Freeman, and I will be presenting the young adult titles from Disney Publishing. A brand new reimagining of the Buffy universe. This YA series by New York Times best-selling author Kendari Blake features the next generation of Scoobies and Slayers who must defeat a powerful new evil. Buffy the Vampire Slayer has transcended genres to become a massive pop culture phenomenon and finding new loyal fans in every generation. #1 New York Times bestseller, Kendari Blake is one of the most popular YA authors writing today. A Buffy superfan herself, Blake deftly creates a new story within the Buffy world, fresh and exciting enough for those unfamiliar with the series, and rich enough to satisfy existing fans. This season marks the launch of a robust, multi-pronged publishing program around Buffy that includes this reimagined YA series, the first in a series of Buffy prequel novels, and an adult novel. Disney Hyperion will be the new publisher for all things Buffy. This series is timed to launch with the 25th anniversary of the Buffy the Vampire Slayer TV show, when hunger for all things Buffy will be high. With this new generation of Buffy novels and other titles that have just come, we will be at the forefront of bringing vampires back to YA. The Temperature of Me and You by Brian Zepka. Simon versus the Homo sapien agenda with a sci-fi bent. Dylan, a hopeless romantic, falls for Jordan, the new boy in town who runs hot and is able to conjure fire with a wave of his hand. There's big entertainment interest, as this is currently being shopped around the Walt Disney Company by an up-and-coming producer with lots of writing showrunning interests. With queer love stories on the rise, including Hulu's own record-breaking series Love Victor, and grounded sci-fi being constantly in demand, this winning combination will land with YA readers who love Adam Silvera and Becky Albertalli. High concept meets slice of life. The town of Falcon Crest is the perfect slice of Americana that can net a large readership, and the hooky premise of two boys' origin stories will capture imaginations and allow readers to feel like anyone around them might have superpowers. A fiery debut. Brian is an authentic voice with the scientific elements of the superhero story drawing from his time with the Centers for Disease Control. Okoye to the People. Written by New York Times best-selling and award-winning author E.B. Zaboy, this fish-out-of-order story about a young Okoye new to the Dora Milaje, the Royal Guard for the Black Panther, will show the character like we've never seen her before. Okoye goes on her first trip outside of Wakanda alongside King T'Chaka on a humanitarian mission to New York. She meets a group of teens struggling with gentrification in a neighborhood of Brooklyn and seeks to understand and help the community. Marvel Press books tailored to the young adult market have seen immense success in recent years when they tell original stories based on the evergreen characters, from Jason Reynolds' rendition of Miles Morales to Mackenzie Lee's take on Loki. Marvel Press has been both success and recognition in the YA space. E.B. Zaboy is the author of several successful middle grade and young adult books, including the National Book Award finalist and New York Times notable book, American Street. Her star is only rising thanks to her most recent release, Punching the Air, a YA novel in verse co-authored by prison reform activist Yusef Salaam of the Exonerated Five, that is an instant New York Times bestseller. We are super excited and looking so forward to this book. Alone Out Here by Riley Redgate. An enthralling update of Lord of the Flies set in space. When Lee ends up on the only ship escaping a dying Earth, can she and 52 other teens survive as the last hope of humanity's existence? We dare you to put it down. The tension in this sci-fi drama is instantaneous and never lets you go. It simply keeps ratcheting up with every high-stakes twist. It is vivid, emotional, action-packed writing. Riley Redgate's ability to balance emotional devastation with breathless action is reminiscent of Alex Bracken and Rick Yancey. This book has a fascinating ensemble cast. The international cohort of teens creates a brilliant kaleidoscope of tensions, rivalries, and alliances. While the author plays with familiar tropes, the execution is utterly masterful, nuanced, and feels both classic and of the moment. The love story that grows between Lee and Anise is beautiful, unexpected, and leads to heart-stopping stakes. Bravely, Princess Merida of Dunbrook faces off against the ancient gods of Scotland in this magic-infused epic adventure where each step will bring Merida closer to saving the family she loves, or losing them forever. Internationally recognized and immensely popular YA author Maggie Stiefvater is best known for her ability to steep readers in age-old cultures, legends, and lore in a way that still feels accessible and exciting for today's teens. And bravely, Maggie brings her talents to the ancient rolling hills of Scotland, to the kingdom of Dunbrook, and its fiery-headed and fiery-tempered Princess Merida. Bravely releases during the pinnacle point of the Ultimate Princess celebration, making this YA title the perfect offering to draw teen readers and fans into this multi-pronged, multi-year campaign that sheds an entirely new light on Disney princesses. This book will help to mark the 10 years since Brave released from Pixar, with this uniquely fresh take on Princess Merida set several years following the close of the film. With breakout series like Outlander capturing millions of readers' minds and hearts, Scottish folklore, culture, and tradition continues to pervade the zeitgeist. Bravely is a perfect fit for anyone looking to add some authentic Scotland to their to-be-read lists.
Hello, my name is Annalisa Sandstrom from Chronicle Books, and I'm so pleased to present 5 YA titles today. 1 is from Chronicle Books, and 4 are from Levine Carrito, and they're all coming in spring 2022. High Spirits is a collection of 11 interconnected short stories from the Dominican diaspora from debut author Camille Gomara Tavares. It is a book centered on one extended family, the Belens, across multiple generations. It is set in the fictional small town of Hidalgo and in Santo Domingo and Patterson and San Juan and Washington Heights too. It is told in a style both utterly real and distinctly magical, and its stories explore machismo, mental health, family, and identity. Coming April from Living Querido. I'm so pleased to present to you Ironhead, or Once a Young Lady, by Jean-Claude Van Rijtgem, I'm not sure if that's correct, translated by Kristen German. This is another Levine Carrito title. In Ironhead, or Once a Young Lady, 18-year-old Constance is not interested in marriage or in being, quote, a young lady. But for now, women coming of age in the early 1800s, that's just about all that's available to her. When her parents arrange her a marriage with a man more than twice her age, she's powerless to resist. Constance couldn't possibly find her newfound husband less appealing, but what can she do? Here's what. 4 months into the marriage, she can slip out of their bed in the middle of the night and she can put on his clothes. She can look in the mirror and like what she sees. She can sneak out of the house before dawn and visit the baker's scrawny son who has just been drafted into the army and offer to take his place. It is a rollicking adventure story with chapters told alternately by Constance and by her younger brother, who all he wants to do is learn Latin, but he is sent to go find his sister who has joined the Napoleonic army. It's a great read from Levine Carrito, coming in February. Next we have Seeing Gender, an illustrated guide to identity and expression by Iris Gottlieb. This was originally published in October 2019 on Chronicle Books Adult List. We have reimagined this book as a young readers edition, and we have a foreword by Case and Callender, which is very exciting. Gender is an intensely personal yet universal facet of humanity, and in this vibrant book, queer author and artist Iris Gottlieb explores gender in all of its complexities, answering questions and providing guidance while also mining history and pop culture for the stories and people who have shaped conversations on gender. For allies, this is an essential tool for understanding and thoughtfully participating in this necessary cultural conversation. And for LGBTQIA people, Seeing Gender offers a space for self-exploration, giving comfort, advice, and reassurance in the sometimes confusing process of navigating one's identity. This is coming in April from Chronicle Books. The Dove in the Belly by Jim Grimsley. It's 1977 at the University of North Carolina, and Ronnie, our main character, has made some friends. He's kept his secrets, he's survived dorm life, and he's managed to protect his heart until he can't. Ben is in some ways Ronnie's opposite. He's big and solid where Ronnie is small and slight. Ben's at UNC on a football scholarship, confident with that easy jock swagger and an explosive temper always simmering. He has a steady stream of girlfriends. Ben's aware of the overwhelming effect he has on Ronnie. It's like this sensation of power. It's so easy for him to tease Ronnie, throw playful insults, but it all feels somehow loaded. The Dove in the Belly is about the electric, dangerous, sometimes tender, but always powerful attraction between two very different boys. But it's also about the full cycles of love and life and how they open in us the twinned capacities for grief and joy. Last but certainly not least is The Days of Bluegrass Love by Edward van de Vendel, translated by Emma Rault. Tico Zelling is drifting through life. Everything in it, school, friends, girls, plans for the future, just kind of happens. It's like a movie he presses play on but doesn't direct. So Tico decides to break away from everything. He flies to America to spend his summer as a counselor at a summer camp for international kids. It is there that Oliver walks in, another counselor from Norway, and it is there that Tico feels his life stop and begin again, finally as his. The Days of Bluegrass Summer was originally published in the Netherlands in 1999. It was a groundbreaking book and has since become a beloved classic throughout Europe, but it's never been translated into English. Here, for the first time, it is masterfully presented to American readers. A tender, intense, unforgettable story of first love. Thank you so much for your attention on this book and all others. We're so excited to have this YA list out in the world in the
Hello,
spring.
I'm Cindy Mack, Director of Library Sales at Random House Children's Books, and I'm going to tell you about a few of our upcoming client young adult titles. First, from Soho Teen, The Color of the Sky is the Shape of the Heart. It's in translation for the first time. It's an award-winning debut that broke literary ground in Japan. It explores dysphoria, prejudice, and the complexity of a teen girl's experience growing up as an ethnic Korean born in Japan. Its themes are universal to coming-of-age stories, struggles of identity, race, abuse, and often the slow and painful process of healing, reminiscent of Min-ji Lee's classic Pachinko. The Reckless Kind is a genre-defying debut. It's a historical YA novel with a cast of diverse characters for readers looking for representations. Main characters include an asexual protagonist, a disabled best friend, and an LGBTQ relationship. It's set in Norway during the 1900s and centers on a wild and reckless trio who fly in the face of the small town traditions, full of love, compassion, and determination to live the lives of their choosing. From Tundra, Fight Like a Girl is an award-winning thriller and a brutally honest debut, which will pull readers right in. This is a contemporary novel about a teenage kickboxer coming to terms with her father's passing away and the mystery behind his death. It was originally published in Canada with strong reviews, and it's now available in the US in paperback. The Wrong Side of the Court is a contemporary sports novel. Debut author H.A. Khan mirrors his own personal experiences about being a teen in Regent Park. He tells the story of 15-year-old Fawad, who has big dreams about being the world's first Pakistani to be drafted into the NBA. Fawad's journey against a backdrop of gang violence will keep readers turning the pages. A first-generation Pakistani coming-of-age story for fans of David Yoon. From Quirk, 90s nostalgia takes a dark turn in this highly anticipated thrilling sequel to This Is Not the Just Show. Fast-paced, mind-bending YA thriller packed with 90s pop culture references and perfect for fans of Black Mirror. This Is Not the Real World tackles teen social media and influencer culture in a fresh take on the movie The Truman Show, and will keep readers guessing until the very end. Perfect for readers of Eli. From Dark Horse Comics, Adora and the Distance was previously a digital Comic Xology original, and it's in print for the first time. It's a fantasy graphic novel following the epic adventures of Adora, a brave young woman of color who lives in a fantastical world with underground pirates, ghosts, and a mysterious force called the Distance. The Crows, available in the first time in English. What lurks in the corners of this house originates in the corners of the minds. When Kim inherits an old family house in rural Sweden, there are notes posted everywhere. On the walls, the doors, and even the ceilings, reminders and drawings of monsters that still haunt this house and the land which it sits. But the monsters aren't just outside, they're in Kim's head. The traumatic memories of an upbringing as different, other, alone. Dive into this stunning graphic novel full of darkness, reconciliation, and exploration of self. From DC Comics, Galaxy, the Prettiest Star. Can Taylor reveal her identity without risking detection from her greatest enemies in order to gain the love she deserves? It takes strength to live as your true self, and one alien princess disguised as a human boy is about to test her power. A vibrant story about gender identity, romance, and shining as bright as the star, which serves as a metaphor for a trans coming out story, comes to us from the mind behind the popular podcast, The Voice of Free Planet X. Mr. Miracle, The Great Escape. Escaping apocalypse is hard enough when you don't know your real name, struggle with PSD, and have a giant crush on your biggest enemy. But escaping as a hero would take nothing short of a miracle. A modern interpretation of the classic Jack Kirby characters, told with an entirely diverse cast, with all new Scott-free / Mr. Miracle origin story written by Coretta Scott King author honor Varian Johnson. Seven Seas. These three graphic novels all started out as webcomics and are now available in print. Never Satisfied is in competition for apprentice magicians and their animal familiars. Non-binary Lucy is chasing the reward and learning the cost. It collects the first 5 chapters of the comic originally published online alongside print-exclusive bonus illustrations. It's the first in a new series. Awaken. In the supernatural, action-packed dystopian tale, one student goes from pampered brat to wanted criminal. The manga and anime fans will especially enjoy this one with its bright and anime-friendly art. Tiger Tiger. With elements of humor, fantasy, and horror, this is a swashbuckling graphic novel about daring exploration and adventure in a historical setting. Women stealing a man's identity, hilarious adventure packed with swords fighting nasty villains, and an exploration of dangerous and uncharted lands. From Triangle Squared, They Said No series. It's a historical fiction series of protesters, activists, and other brave changemakers from around the world that emphasize the importance of standing up for what you know is right. In spring, we have 2 titles, No to Despair, a portrait in the last days of the Warsaw Ghetto Uprising, and No to Fear, the story of a fearless, internationally recognized journalist who was assassinated for believing that words can save lives. And in the fall, there are 2 more, the story of Harvey Milk and Victor Jara. Also from Triangle Square is You Know Sex, a completely new approach to learning about puberty, sex, and gender. a modern sex ed book for everybody navigating puberty and adolescence, racially and ethnically diverse, inclusive of cross-disability experience. This is a book for every kind of young person and every kind of family. Socrates is a lively and accessible introduction to the philosopher. It traces the life and ideas of the philosopher whose influence is still felt more than 2,000 years later. Well-researched, vivid account of life in ancient Greece, extensive endnotes and bibliography to guide further reading. The two newest graphic novel adaptations from Campfire are the perfect accessible way for young readers to fall in love with reading classics. In Midsummer's Night Dream, Shakespeare's famous comedy retains the original language while the illustrations make the text more accessible for readers being introduced to this for the first time. And Wuthering Heights is a faithful rendering of one of the 19th century's English literature most memorable classics.